Hello, this is Joseph Carlson, and this is episode 110 of Gaming with Grief, and I'm calling this episode Dark Alliance Impressions because I played the Game Pass game, I got it on Game Pass anyway, Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, but I just want to remind you guys first that this podcast will hit my website, www.gamingwithgrief.com. Go there. It hits Monday morning, 7 a.m. Go there, leave a comment, let me know what you think of the show, or you can go to iTunes, subscribe to the show there, or you can go to the Google Play Store, subscribe to the podcast there. On both places, give me the likes, the subscribes, the things like that, the stars, let me know how I can improve, give me the ratings, reviews, stuff like that. Or you can go to Twitter. I'm there at JustLittleJoe. Or you can find me at gwgpodfellows@gmail.com. Go there, drop me a line. Let me know how you heard about the show, what I can do to improve. You can rate me there. If you want me to read it over on the podcast, I will. If you don't, I will not. So yeah, like I said, when I set this up, I played the new Wizards of the Coast game. Well, they made it Turk. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But they got the license from Wizards of the Coast. It's got the D&D branding on it. It's called Dark Alliance. You know, there was some old Baldur's Gate games back in the day that were on the PS1. I mean, there was obviously the CRPGs long ago, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the Sword Coast. These are more based on the Dark Alliance games. You know, it was more of like a Diablo game. This actually, the original one I think came out for the PS1. If I remember right. Anyway, this was available as a Game Pass game day one. I have Game Pass. I'm a big fan of Game Pass, so I downloaded this game, and my wife downloaded it as well, and my friend Martin, who's been on the podcast a few times, downloaded it, and we played it together. We played one mission together and kind of messed around the hub area. We will be giving our impressions of what it was like to be grouped together at the end of this podcast, but I wanted to start the introduction and just talk about my solo impressions. I played Dritz Deorden. If you don't know the game, it's basically a third-person action game, and you can pick, it's medieval fantasy with magic and spells, and everybody's got a weapon. There's 4 members of the group that you can pick from. Wolfgar, who's the human barbarian, he's got a big hammer. He's pretty dope. My wife played him. And then there's Dritz Deorden. He's like probably one of the most famous elves, the dark elves drow in all of D&D. He's got 2 blades. He's more of your DPS character. There's Brunor, who's an armored dwarf who's got a big axe and a shield. Just goes in there and just messes fools up. He's more of your tank. And then the character I played was Caddy Bree, which is a human ranger, so she's like your ranged whatever. But I'll give our impressions of that, obviously, of the group at the end, like I said. But right now, for one mission, I went back and played as Dritz Deorden, and at kind of a lower difficulty level. I played the first mission. It took about an hour. And I just kind of want to give my initial impressions of the game. There's a lot of rough stuff online about, people not really enjoying the game, which is totally their right to do. They don't have to enjoy it. What I found was there's positive and negative to the game. Obviously, a positive is if you're paying for Game Pass and you don't have the money, I think it's $39.99 if you purchase it flat out, or $29.99. Game Pass is a great way to experiment with the game and play it and see if you like it. What I found playing solo, I played a little bit solo as Caddy actually before I joined the group. There's this weird input lag. It seemed like when I hit the button to fire an arrow, there was like a half a second delay between when I hit the button and fired the arrow. There's also, with Caddy especially, there's these weird stamina things. So, to make sure that you don't fire a million arrows at once or just keep continually swinging your axe or your hammer, everybody has a stamina meter, and that's depleted differently depending on what kind of character you are and things like that. And then your stamina meter actually has a bar that kind of slides down it because it's like you're getting tired in the campaign, and you will not be able to regenerate your stamina fully. So it'll cut your stamina in half, like the farther you travel. You'll get to checkpoints, and you have the ability to trigger a short rest, which will replenish all of your health and stamina all the way back up. You'll get all your potions because you can hold 3 healing potions to begin with in your inventory. So you'll have all that stuff to begin with. If you take a short rest, if you've used any of those, you get them back. Or if you don't, and you choose to move forward, the loot rarity goes up, so you'll be able to get cooler loot out of the drops. which is kind of a cool system. Caddy does have everybody has basic like light and heavy attacks. There's a ranged attack, so like Dritz throws a dagger, which he has to summon, which is weird. You think he'd just throw a throwing dagger, and then everybody has like two kind of utility abilities. I know Caddy, hers is a heal, so she snaps her finger, and where she's standing on the ground, a big white light appears on that spot, and if your friends come in it, they get a free heal. So it's effectively getting a free healing potion for everybody because it's on a cooldown once you use it. If it pops back up several times, you get an extra chance and an extra heal. There were several times when I used it. And then her other ability is she encases everybody in thorns, which is great if there's a lot of enemy around. So they can't move, they can't run at you, whatever. That runs out. That's cool. Dritz, his abilities are... Oh, and her ultimate is her bow glows in this big thing of white light, and her stamina doesn't deplete, and she can shoot all these incredibly powerful enemies that do a lot more damage to the enemy, which I'm sure there's gear and things to upgrade that to, make them more powerful. And Dritz, he's got two short blades. He's very quick. His input lag was kind of the same as Caddy. It seemed to be a half a second before you press the button before he did something. But the good news is that it seemed like, I know I put it on a lower difficulty level, but it didn't seem like his stamina bar was depleted in any way, or his stamina got back fairly quickly. And also his like what Caddy had was her stamina was basically being stopped because she was tired from generating all the way. That bar that would move down your stamina kind of pushed me to halfway point sometimes with Caddy. With Dritz, it hardly moved, and I was able to regenerate full stamina between battles. If you don't fight for a while, then you can sit there and your stamina will come back up, which was really great. He is lightning fast, Dritz, and it just seemed like it was easier to dodge out of the way, things like that. His utility abilities, one of them is he becomes invisible, which is great because people will stop firing at you, and they will try to look for you, and you can go behind them and do like a precision strike, do extra damage, do critical hits when you're behind him. That only lasts for, 5 to 7 seconds, and then it runs out. His other ability, which I think I'm more of a fan of, is like these shadow blades, which is kind of like a spell in D&D. I don't know the spell, but it seems familiar, where these shadowy blades kind of like swirl around him. And if you get near enemies, it just does passive damage to them while you hit them, and then it causes them to bleed if they're not resistant to it, which is incredibly helpful. His ultimate ability is, it's spelled strangely, but my friend's a big fan of Dritz and his companions, and he said that his panther, which is a ghost panther that you summon, is named Guinevere, which is crazy because it's not spelled like that. But anyway, it is immune to damage. Excuse me, and it will just hop from creature to creature, doing massive amounts of damage. There's probably ways to upgrade it with, with gear and things like that, but I haven't got that far. It is like D&D, the fact that you can upgrade your character through feats and moves. You have feat points, which you spend to get feats like, like a cool spin kick or like a parry or something like that. And that's it's 1 for 1, and you have to be certain levels to get different feats. Then you can buy some moves, and that's thousands of gold, which you're getting gold in the mission. The more you bump up the difficulty in the mission, I think it goes from 1 to 8 or 7. You get better loot, you get stuff like that. It's really cool. I do like the structure of this game. I think the input lag was a thing, and especially with Caddy, going solo in a mission was really difficult. And it did really help that my wife played Wolfgar and my friend played Brunner. You basically have 2 tanks on the front line, and I was just sitting back, just firing arrows. And you can really be a utility because I was really trying to watch when that extra heal came up, and they were getting hurt, they were out of potions. And I would say, do you guys need me to lay that down? And they're like, absolutely. If you get down to combat, you have a limited amount of revives if you're in a group setting, which is really cool. But if you're playing solo, it's a little bit like Dark Souls, that if you die halfway through the level, they just send you back to the beginning of the level. Or maybe if you take a short rest, I believe that makes a campsite that you can go back to. We ended up only short resting a few times. Sometimes when you loot chests, you'll get treasure and stuff, and there will also be a potion that pops out of it. So if In the beginning you can only hold like 3 potions, then you get that extra potion. That's really great. Later on, I noticed in the upgrade tree, I think I upgraded Caddy to hold more potions, and they also heal for more. So you have to spend money and resources to do that. You get a lot of gems in this game, and I think that's kind of ridiculous. There's like 7 different types of gems, and they're color-coded. It's a white gem or a green gem that's common, and then a purple one that's uncommon, and then you have legendary. And I have absolutely no idea what they do. I guess you put them into gear, and it makes gear better. You can also take lower quality gems and turn them into higher quality gems, which is pretty cool. But it seems weird that they got so much from D&D. I've talked many times in this podcast that I play D&D a lot. I think they could have just used the metals from D&D. That would have spoken more to me. You have a copper vein, you found a silver vein, you found a gold vein, you found an electrum vein, you found a platinum vein. There's a, not mithril, they call it adamantium vein. I don't say that a lot because apparently I can't say that word. And 2, my characters have never run across it. I haven't run across adamantium armor, anything like that. You also can't pronounce it. I guess I've gone to YouTubers and I've seen people pronounce it differently. Anyway, I think that would have been a better analog than the 7 different types of gems they have in the game. Because it seems to me it just makes it more confusing. I've talked a lot on this podcast about playing Avengers and other games, and it just baffles my mind that when you're sitting in a boardroom in front of a whiteboard and you say to yourself, you know what? Why don't we put more currencies in the game? I understand some of that is, well, we have to make it difficult for these characters to upgrade gear. I get that. But, I think, hey, we have all this D&D stuff sitting here. We've already got feats, attribute points. We're using Dritz and his companion. The D&D splash screen is there. The Wizards of the Coast logo is there when you start. All that stuff is there. It's like, why don't we just use more of this D&D stuff, And, obviously they're going for hardcore fans that know. Martin, who will be on the podcast, knows a lot about Dritz and his companions. He's read a lot of the novels over the years. It was great when he kind of like in a 5-minute spiel, I told him about the game before it was released. I said, hey man, you have Game Pass, I have Game Pass. It's coming out in like a month. He went on a 5-minute rant about, he went on a 5-minute Wikipedia explanation of Dritz and his companions, and it was really cool to kind of hear a quick history of them and what they mean to each other. So I don't actually know what the other people's special ability are, but I guess we could talk about that when we play. Maybe later in the week, what I'm going to do is maybe every night, maybe I'll play Bruner tomorrow night, and then maybe the next night, Friday night, I'll play Wolfgar and see who I like. My wife said she has no problem switching it up to somebody else. I heard they were going to release a patch and try to tighten up some of this stuff. Apparently, they're going to allow you to play 2 Caddy Breeze or 3 Bruners or whatever you want to do. I think that's pretty cool. I know it kind of breaks immersion and stuff like that, but like if you're like me and you just totally fall in love with Dritz, maybe you want to play him, and my friend's like, oh, I want to try Dritz too. Anyway, there's a lot of rough stuff in the game. It seems that every input you do, it's hitting a server somewhere, and I'm playing the game offline. When you hit X to collect treasure, there seems to be a second delay. Then the treasure comes in. The hitbox, I guess it would be called, for the treasure, you have to be just in the right spot to hit X to collect it instead of being near it. I think that's stuff they might be able to fix in a future patch, hopefully. But there's this weird delay. If you jump, you hit jump, and then there's like a half second, your character kind of floats. And then the lock-on doesn't really do that well. You don't generally face people you fight, so your combos will just keep going in a straight line. If people dodge out of the way, that's fine, I get that. But sometimes I'll be near someone and my head will turn to look at them, and then when I do an attack, I'll be moving forward, they'll be to the right of me. And I think that's kind of a weird way to do it. I wish there was just kind of like a general, luckily you're kind of swinging your sword, or like Caddy does a high kick if you do a melee attack. It's in a wide arc, so you hit 2 or 3 people. But it's just really weird. I don't think the lock-on works as intended. And I don't think, it just seems to be a little wonky. But again, these are just my initial impressions of the game. I'm still enjoying playing it, and I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit. I know, again, like I said at the beginning of this, there's been a lot of reviews, and they've been pretty negative. But I think that, with some patches, and the one caveat of every review seems to be if you play it with friends, it's better. So I'm hoping that it's true. And I'm hoping that, even my wife came home from work today when we were talking, and she said, I kind of thought about our adventure last night, and it was great, and we made each other laugh. because the button to revive your ally is the exact same button in motion to climb up a ladder. So one of us died near the edge of a ladder. So instead of reviving that person, we kept climbing down the ladder. The funny part was, though, there was a trap at the bottom of the ladder. So the moment you got down the ladder with the input lag, you tried to climb back up the ladder, you're pretty much dead. In fact, I had one instance where I was climbing up the same ladder. My life was at 0. I was like, wow, I'm not dead. That's crazy. Maybe I have 1 hit point left and I'm trying to get to the top of the ladder. No. It allowed me to complete the animation to climb the ladder, but then when I got to the top, I fell over dead. So luckily, you can force yourself to respawn at the closest camp. We did that and kind of moved on with the game. But anyway, I think that's going to end my initial impressions. In the next couple days, I'll get my wife and my friend on. We'll do a big group party chat, and we'll just talk about what we thought about the game, good and bad. Again, I know many of the reviews have been negative. I think there's still some fun to be had here, and I think some of the things that are happening can be worked out with maybe some patches. So, the team seems very small. I saw some dev diaries when this thing was being developed. They seem pretty passionate. Some of the videos they used to promote the game, like behind the scenes stuff, was pretty tongue-in-cheek, and I like that. And I don't know a lot about Icewind Dale. It's kind of neat to look at this area of D&D and kind of learn something new. And then, even my friend Martin was like, yeah, I didn't remember that part about the lore. But it seems like they're kind of following some books and kind of gleaming from them, from Dritz. He had many books written years ago. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys the next couple days when I finish my other impressions. All right, bye. So what did you both think of Dark Alliance? I'll start with you, Martin, since I'm staring at you into the screen. What did you think of Dark Alliance so far?
So far, I thought it was pretty good. I think the build up to it was very exciting. The cinematic and everything. It's very nostalgic. Something that you've been reading comes to life.
Yeah, because you're a big fan of the novels and stuff like that. You've read the novels, and so you knew. Yeah, you gave me the Wikipedia rundown of Dritz when I told you about the game. You're like, oh my gosh, and you gave me the rundown of it. So
yeah, so I was really excited about it, and then started playing it, and for the most part, I think it's a decent game if you play with people like yourselves that make it just absolutely fun. Yeah. Single player of the game, though, it's actually a little disappointing.
Yeah. I think Carla feels the same way.
I'd rather play with you guys than play that by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's more fun, especially when there's a lot of bugs going on.
Oh yeah.
Things are slow. Yeah. Maybe you get trapped under a ladder. Somebody has to be revived.
Yeah, well, that seems to be kind of a crappy thing where the same button to revive someone is the same button to climb a ladder. So and there's traps at the bottom of ladders all the time. It seemed like or in a ravine or whatever it was. So yeah.
Right. Well, and then after this whole build up, I think they maybe rushed it. There was another game. I think it was like an add-on to Icewind Dale. Don't remember what it was. It was a D&D type thing. I don't know if it was like a Bard's Tale or something. And you can play Dritz, but it was very, very short. It was only for like 2 levels, and then he just completely went away. It's like he came and helped the party, and you can actually play him for the party.
Well, there was those old Baldur's Gate games on PC, and then I think a couple of them came to like Xbox. They had like a version of it. I think it was called Dark Alliance too, if I remember the box art.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I was actually looking at some of those, and man, how the graphics have changed. But I think the mechanics of it is just off. It's very
the new one.
It's very stale, very static. Like to jump, you have to jump like a second before you actually need to jump. It's not really responsive when you're rolling or attacking or.
Yeah, it seems like there's like a half a second delay. Like it's. Like, I've heard that of Anthem and other online games, and this is online, but even when I was playing offline, there seems to be something where I'm hitting a button and it has to tell somebody somewhere that I hit a button and then it has to respond. Like, there just seems to be this really weird floatiness, which I thought would make sense if you're online, because, we're all on different connections. But even when you have it in offline mode, you're like, what is happening? Like, I just hit the jump button and I have to wait a half a second. And
or you hit Y and B together and nothing
yeah,
happens.
and your Y spell just activates. You're like, well, that's the extra heal that I had as Caddy Bree, so there goes that.
Right. Well, even with that, like, say when you hit Y and B, as the screen's loading, sometimes they give you like a little tutorial. Hey, Y and B at a certain time does this. You know, when you go to the control screen, it doesn't tell you what Y plus B does.
Yeah.
And there's no way that tells you what it does.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, I did one of those attacks while we were playing, and at the end where it gives you the summary, you know, I got it's like called a team execute or a team attack or something like that. And I think I'm wondering if next time we play, if next time one of us gets a Y and B, you know, if we just tell the other person, hey, I got a Y and B, I'm wondering if it's saying, you know, if Carla and I are next to each other and I get a Y and B and I hit it, it sends the Y and B to her saying, hey, this is a team attack that has been requested, and if Carla was to hit the Y and B, when I hit the Y and B, if there's like some sort of team attack to where it does a team execute or...
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. And then also, I will say, in fairness, I've heard some reviewers say that you can actually change some of the control schemes. Yeah. So maybe if we did that and experimented, maybe Y and B is not the best button to hit for these. So maybe it's, maybe we mess around with the triggers or something and try to make it. And then I did notice when I played as Dritz by myself, one thing in the tutorial that gets glossed over is X. So if you hit an attack and then hit X right away, you'll do like you mentioned, Dritz will drop his shoulder into somebody. It does a lot of damage, and I couldn't get it to work with Caddy. Plus, I'm a ranged character as Caddy Bree, so you have to do a melee attack and then hit X. And they did it in the tutorial, but my whole point, my existence as Caddy Bree is to be a ranged character. You know, right. And if you do that, you get a green shard, which will regenerate your stamina. But again, I'm a ranged character. So there's no, am I going to run up and punch someone? I guess to get my stamina back, but it seems kind of weird. You were making fun of me. You're like, why are you running up? Joe, you have a bow and arrow. And it makes sense, but part of me is like, I need my stamina back, Martin. This is a weird system. Like, I don't know.
Right. So if you stop for a minute, your stamina will recharge.
Right, but I mean, this is like, it just gives you a chunk faster, And so it's like, you're like, I want to shoot arrows now. Like, I don't...
So... You mentioned Dritz, and so it states that amongst successful attacks, if you hit the X button or hold, I can't remember which one, he does this powerful move. That does take like a chunk of stamina. But if you can get it to work, you can... I've chained together like 6, 7, 10 successful attacks, and then I hit the X button, held the X button, and he has not done that attack. And then I've chained together 2 attacks and hit that X button, and he launches them across the screen. So once again, I don't know if that's...
That is a fun ragdoll thing, which I think is design of them just like, okay, once you kill them, they just go flying. Like that's more whatever than them just, it's more satisfying than falling over. But I know, Carla, you played Wolfgar the Barbarian. You liked him.
He's a little slow when he
Yeah.
When he does his attacks. The swinging is really slow for my taste.
Yeah,
it's a heavy hammer, but that's not an excuse.
She should probably switch to Dritz and see because he's quick.
Yeah, he's fast, and I think he would level up really, really quick. So with Dritz, you can swing for days, and his stamina doesn't really go down at all.
I know, I noticed that too.
And he's hard to hit. Like I was telling Joe, like if you go to evade, which is you roll with B, and if you double tap B, they evade. Now with Dritz, if you double tap, you can move in like an L form in a flash of an eye, and they can't get you, and it takes virtually no stamina for him to do it.
The Barbarian's stamina is not that good.
Yeah, I mean neither is.
I've been trying to upgrade it a little bit.
And there is gear that will make things use less stamina, but the problem I have is they have the idea of stamina, and then they have the idea of fatigue. So, like, the idea that your full stamina bar cannot regen because you've just been fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And I get that, but it seems like it's so unevenly balanced between the characters. Like, Dritz, I was just going to town on guys. I got a 75 hit combo. I got an achievement for it. And his fatigue line didn't drop. And Caddy Bree, I fire 6 arrows, and my fatigue bar is just dropping. And I'm like, well, now that we... And then, they do have that thing of the long rest, or the short rest, so you can get all that back in your consumables. But then what happens is... you have the loot rarity, and it's like, well, I can't do that because I'm going to be less successful. I'm not even going to be able to really help the group because I'm going to be able to fire 2 arrows, and then I'm going to be sitting in the back, and so that I think needs like a balancing patch of.
Oh, absolutely. I think with the whole stamina thing with Dritz, I think they did a pretty decent job. Bree, I mean. She's an archer. I mean, her stamina shouldn't be depleting like that.
Did you play her at all to try her out, just like in the beginning?
No, just listening to you. She's an archer. I mean, I could understand like Bruner. Maybe, I mean, he's running around with plate and
oh yeah, like shield. That makes sense,
Yeah, absolutely. Or Wolfgar. I mean, he's wielding a 2-handed anything. I can understand where that would deplete stamina faster, but. A ranger, like an archer, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to sound like we're totally bagging on the game. There was some things that I liked. I did like some of the enemies. They telegraphed what they were going to do, and you could dodge out of the way, and it was very satisfying because I played the game initially just as Caddy Bree, and that was very unsatisfying because if you die, they warp you back to the very beginning of the stage, which was very frustrating. But it is cool to see you guys as a group just run in there and start beating the crap out of them, and me kind of like pick them off, and we're all helping each other. Like there is a good part of like the group play of like, hey, we're all helping each other out and stuff like that. And we made each other laugh because of the traps and dying and all that. But I think the thing that I thought of last night when we logged out was I do like the tally screen at the end that shows how many pieces of loot you got, how much damage you did. There was a lot of crap talk. Carla got a lot of legendary things.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, she did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, she did. She got a lot of...
You know what's funny is that's what happened last time. Before we logged out, it was like, oh, Joe's like, let's see how much legendary stuff Carla's
going to get. Yeah, and then I didn't get any.
And then he got like the best of the best gems. He got like 2 legendaries, which nobody's gotten 2 legendaries. And we're like, Joe, ooh, look who got the legendaries now. And Joe was like the whole... No, I didn't. And we're like, we're looking at your
I know, yeah.
Total denial.
Yeah, you can't really laugh. I will say, even with Caddy's problems, I was getting, I killed, 4 more people than the tanks did because I was sitting from behind. And that feels good. And I think, Martin, Bruner did the most damage. Yeah. But Carla did, I don't know. It is neat to see that because even... we give each other crap, but it is cool. No, you actually helped. You killed the most amount of people, or you did the most amount of damage.
Right. So that's also where I think it's kind of broken. Is it makes sense? Honestly, it would make sense if you got more kills, and the reason being is that
you're a sharpshooter.
If you have a tank and then you have a warrior, and they're just doing a bunch of damage to a bunch of people, and your job literally is just to finish people off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I was doing,
and it finishes them off.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
But the thing that I think is broken is that, I'm a tank. My job is to say, hey, I'm right here. And then you guys come over and start wailing on me. And then for me to do more damage than the warrior, that makes no sense. I mean, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I love running in there and just bashing people.
We
That's
did.
So fun.
Did you watch the cinematic trailer? Because there's this great thing where Dritz is kind of come up with a plan, and they're all sitting there, and there's a dragon there, and Dritz is like, okay, Caddy, do this. Bruner, do this. Wolfgar goes, for the Elk Clan, and runs in, and they're like, oh. And so they all run in. And there was a couple times Carla literally did that, where I was like, okay, do you want to? And she goes, woo, and just ran. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. We're just going to go kill everything, I guess.
I mean, he always wants to go uphill. I go downhill.
Yeah, I think
that...
and it's great that when you see that, right? Because you have 2 people down, and you're like, where's Joe? Where's Carla? I'm pretty sure you guys are together going, where the hell's Martin? And then you see this little inch tall thing. Like, what are you doing all the way over there?
Yeah, it was... that is kind of neat. There is a lot of good paths, though. I like that. Where, did you try looking up here? There's a chest or something, there's... Oh, look, there's a collectible like a tomb or a tablet or something. That's kind of cool. But that was another thing I said in my initial impressions. There is a weird delay even when you collect gold. You hit the collect button and it's like a half a second. And you're like, wait, what? And you mentioned, in I think your initial thing is the fact that they haven't changed it yet, but you have to go back to camp to equip all the cool stuff you got, which is really frustrating when you get all it says is epic quiver. Well, man, I mean, we've all played a lot of games.
Sometimes it's not epic, you know.
Right. Sometimes it's
sometimes
it's
your
just
your green item or your uncommon is better in some aspects than the legendary or the epic, and they just give you more attributes. You know, but it's kind of frustrating. I don't know about you guys, but like when you're in the middle of a fight and whatever you're doing it's not working. And so if you could just access your gear that you picked up 3 kills ago, that might help.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is like, you know, we played games and we know the color system. It changes in every game, but you know if it says like legendary something, you immediately want to see what that is, you know, and not only like you want to help the group or play. It's just the idea that, like, oh, that looks really cool, you know, or, like, I got that. I want to put that on.
Well, it should be better than what you have. Too.
Yeah, and then sometimes... and then sometimes there was, like, a text problem where it would show the symbol for a necklace, which is different from the symbol for a ring, and it would be, like, uncommon it'd be, like, uncommon ring when it was, like, the necklace symbol, and you're like... Wait, did I pick up a necklace or a ring? And then you go back and open the chest at your base camp, and it would say, you got a ring, and you're like... All right, well, like, are you lying to me, game? What am I getting, you know? You don't want to open a thing and be like, legendary boots, and you're like, why do I have a helm, you know, or whatever. Like, that doesn't make sense, so.
Right. So I would recommend, Carly, that you try Dritz, because he's fast, and his stamina's great. He's a lot of damage, really, really quick, and he can get out of there fast. And one of his special moves is that he disappears into the shade. And then when you creep behind people, and it lasts for like 10 seconds, and every damage you do is a crit until he shows himself. Every damage you do is a crit. So you go behind somebody and you start attacking them, and then you just see 100, 200 hit points just draining away from them. Yeah. They can hit you if they swing in your direction and you don't dodge. They can hit you. But one thing that playing with Dritz and then trying to do it with Bruner is that as you're running in, if you double tap B toward an enemy and then start hitting him, you take him completely off guard. And I can't do it with Bruner, but with Dritz, if you run into him and hit him within the first 2 hit combos, they fall to the ground, which gives you the ability to hit execute. And I can't do that with Bruner, but Dritz can do it almost every single time. But by that time, I'm already into like 3 or 4 buttons because everything's lagged. Yeah. I'm already into 3 or 4 button combos where I miss the execute. But you knock them unconscious, even if you miss the execute. They're unconscious. I mean, they're little whirling around their head until you can just keep wailing on them. And I will say that with playing the game with the bugs for ourselves, there is bugs for them too, because as long as you're hitting them, especially someone that's as equal as you, as long as you're hitting them, they can't hit you back either. Yeah. And the same thing with us, as long as they're singly hitting you, you can't hit them back unless you dodge out of the way. So I think that's also good for us.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I do like that everybody seems to swing in a wide arc, so at least if there is someone behind you, because I don't really like the lock-on system, so at least if there's someone to the side or behind you, you can still hit them and like kind of interrupt their whatever. Yeah. And I do like the parry system. The idea when you parry someone and it kind of knocks them back for a second, you're able to get some hits in. But again, with the input lag of hitting the button to parry and holding it to block, like sometimes I was just mashing it, you know, like hitting it repeatedly like a QuickTime event just to get it to work, you know, because you wanted it to happen. But, you know, I don't want to bag. I mean, obviously there's problems with the game, but I do want to try Wolfgar and Bruner. And then, you know, I liked Caddy, but if they fix the stamina thing, that would help. But I think maybe I'll like Bruner, and then she switches to Dritz, and then maybe you like Wolfgar, or maybe you do like Caddy. And, like, I think it's a thing of, I need, like every other game, you need to find a character that fits your playstyle. Like, I was like, you know, I like the archer and everything, but it doesn't seem like her arrows go far. They just stop. Like, you'll see a white burst in front of someone when you do a heavy attack, and you're like, what did I shoot, a short arrow or something? Like, they're 10 feet in front of me, and it didn't hit them, you know?
Right.
But when I played Dritz, I was like, wow, this guy's fast, you know, like, and he's responsive, like you said, you know, he's quick. You're 4 hits into knocking somebody over or whatever.
I'll try him the next time we play.
Yeah, and then...
Yeah, I would recommend. The bad thing about it, though, is once you try him and say you're like, oh, I like him. Okay, I'll log back on and as, not Bruner, but Wolfgar. They're so slow.
Oh,
I mean, they're after
be...
playing him and then logging on, not last night, but the time before that, logging on to Bruner, I'm like swinging. I'm like, just swing. Would you just?
There it goes.
It's slow.
So slow.
He's got to debate whether he wants to swing. Well, my thing. So I know with Caddy, you have 2 extra abilities in like an ultimate. Her ultimate is her bow glows, and you shoot like these white arrows, and you don't run out of stamina while that meter's going. And then her secondary moves so far are an extra heal that you just snap your fingers and white light appears around you so the group can come heal. And the other one is thorns. So you hit a button and thorns come out of the ground and they grab people so they won't move. What is Wolfgar's?
The super is you hit the left and the right trigger at the same time, and then he spins.
Oh, and then
the hammer lights up, and then you can do multiple.
What about the other 2? Cool. The hold Y and
the hold Y is like your hammer, like it sends like a phantom hammer out into somebody.
Oh, nice.
In the distance.
Probably does a lot of. What about the other one?
I don't know.
There was such a delay.
I just like the spinning one. That was my favorite.
Yeah. Well, there's probably such an input lag. She's like, I don't know what's happening right now.
Carla like damage. Woo, woo, woo,
that is
woo,
true.
Woo.
That is true.
Yeah.
And fire.
And I know what was Bruner's thing. I saw your thing with the anvil all the time, where an anvil would appear,
that was cool.
And if everything was in AOE, it would just like there was a hammer coming down on the anvil, and everybody in that thing would get. What was the other thing he did? Oh, the shield. It was like a shield thing or whatever.
Yeah. So. There's the hammer that comes down, and it's really cool. It does AoE as long as there's people in that vicinity, and it's great because the anvil, if you get it to drop on somebody's head, it does damage.
That's pretty cool.
That was actually really cool. And then the other one is a battle cry. So you hit it, and people focus all their attention on you, and then damage dealt is lessened, but it doesn't say. Is it damage dealt to you, which is lessened, which makes sense, or is it damage dealt to the party?
There is like a circle around you of shields when you cast that. So I think if we go in that circle, then we probably, I'd have to read, but there's probably some benefit or whatever for us being near you when you do it.
That's his left and right toggle.
Yeah.
So when you hit his left and right toggle, shields come up, and as long as the party stays inside that shield, damage is increased, and damage received to you is nullified. So as long as you stay inside there, you don't take damage for that period of time.
That's pretty good. I know Dritz, his thing is, his ultimate is he has Guinevere, which you had to tell me that's how to say it because it's D&D back in the 80s or the early 90s, so they had to spell it with 9 other consonants, where I was like, I don't know how to say that. And you're like, oh, it's Guinevere. I'm like, why couldn't they just write that? But you have that Spectral Panther, which I used when I did the first level, and it's very gratifying because it doesn't take damage, and it knocked one of the bosses into the ice trap spikes and just kept hitting him, and I was like, this is great, and it'll hit everybody in that area, and one of his abilities is, like you said, slinking into the shadows and turning invisible, and he does critical hits. And the other one is Shadow Blades, which dance around him, and if anybody's in that area, they just passively take damage, and you can hit them while that's happening. So,
right, absolutely. And I think that's, you pointed it out yesterday. I don't know what his other ones, other than that. I know Bruner's, as of yesterday, he pulls out ale as a replacement to the Y or hold Y, and when you drink it, you... regenerate. It doesn't say life or stamina. It doesn't say what. It just says regenerates. The party regenerates, and some other benefit. I can't remember what it was.
Is that one of the ones you unlock? Maybe you hit a certain level threshold, because there is that screen that you found last night. You're like, hey, there's other ultimate, or there's other extra abilities, and I'm like, well, they're locked for me, and you're like, oh, maybe we level these up later or something.
So when you go, you know how you have the ability to go into the screen, but you have to purchase things. Not when they give you skill points, but you have to purchase them.
You get those feat points or whatever, where it's like you get 1 point or 2 points or whatever.
Right. So not the feat points, but the ones you actually have to purchase with money. In there, as you purchase them, you can swap out your Ys. For either one of those.
Your support abilities,
basically. What the other guys' are.
Well, mine are still locked out. I don't know. I haven't unlocked. I think because she's like lower level or something.
You have to buy them. Go into the screen right next to feats. The one that you have to buy with money.
Yeah.
Where there are extra abilities where you have to push forward and hit the right trigger, or
yeah, that's another thing. There's so much input lag. I've been ignoring those.
Yes.
I've just been purchasing them because you get an achievement to get all of them. But there's such an input lag. It's like hit forward and LB and whatever, and you're like, that's not gonna work. Like it's.
Well, who's in the middle of the? Because I do that. Like I'm in the middle of combat, and I'm just like, is it block in the left trigger? Is it roll forward and the right bumper button?
I'm like, I'm just gonna keep hitting buttons until I find it again.
Some of them are cool. Yeah.
One of these is gonna work.
Yeah. apparently, Caddy does have like an arrow bomb she puts on the ground, and if they run towards it, it'll blow up. You know, because they come after her. But again, the AI is kind of dumb. Like last night, I watched Carla was wailing on a dude, and there was a guy behind her just standing there staring at her while she was wailing on a guy, and I was like. And I just revived her, so it was like, well, this is kind of working out. Like, he's not attacking me for being near, but kind of sucks when he's just kind of like, all right, you guys ready for me? I'll wait. You know, he's not
waiting his turn, Joe. That's rude to just barge in.
Right. Well, that's what D&D does.
Didn't you see the line?
Yeah, there was a line of guys. There was a line.
It's like the movie Airplane.
Yeah, there's a line of guards that you have to be like.
It's like when you go buy a soda and the soda comes out of the dispenser and the other one slides into place.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, you just wait for him to get in line in like a hallway. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
not one of them runs away either. They're like, well, I guess it's my turn. I'm number 3. Yep, that's me. He just slides.
Oh, and there's guys in the back of the line that got the wrong number. They're trying to trade up numbers. Oh, I want to go first. Can I go first?
I got a dentist appointment. Can you take my number 3 spot?
Yeah, can you die first? Because I want to get my cavity looked at before this guy stabs me. I will say I do like the fact that this is on Game Pass day and date because I was looking forward to it, but a lot of the reviews were really negative. So it was like, well, it's really just costing my time, and it utilizes Game Pass because if you play the games on Game Pass, you don't get the benefit from it. So it was like, well, at least I get the benefit, and I was playing with you guys, and it was really fun. So I still want to continue to play the game and maybe try Wolfgar, try Brunner, and be like, I think I'm going to be sick of that first level, though, because I've done it so much. And they do have a weird thing of completion where you pick the difficulty level for each level you do, and there's 3 acts in a level or a chapter, and then it'll go through like 1 to 7, like, hero, guardian, maniac, I don't know what it is, but you get more XP and it gets harder, and they'll put a check mark by it based on your account, it seems like. So they knew that I did one of the missions with you guys as Caddy Bree. So it's like, okay, well, you could do it, but you've already done that one at level 2. So if you were really into this game, you could go through, okay, I'm going to do it at 3, I'm going to do it at 4, I'm going to do whatever, but you don't have to. But I do like that tracks account-wide and not character-wide. So you're like, oh, no, I got to do this again. It's like, no, I've already done this. So,
so I think that's what we should do because, you guys have played games where you're like, I'm going to try such and such character. And you that's what you do. You try them for 3 or 4 levels, and you're like, this person's not for me. So, Carla, if that person's not for you, try something different. We're not far enough in to where we're like, oh, really?
Well, she's going to get, I mean, too, if she's bad, too, she's going to get a lot of XP and probably catch up. But they don't really tally up the XP until after the mission, so she would be kind of squishy. But yeah, if she did that first mission again
So if I play the campaign with the new character, do I get to keep everything when I play with you guys?
Yeah, it's all per
I might
character.
just try Dritz today, just to see,
like
while I'm just lying around like a lump.
Yeah, because our bedroom has really good AC, so it's like 70 degrees in there right now, so hopefully that stays. Even last night, last night when it was really hot, it was like maybe 70 some odd degrees.
Yeah, as long as you keep that curtain or the door closed, you'll be good.
Yeah. But she might do that. I'm finishing up a nerdy lore book, and then I don't know, man. I don't know. Next week I got some stuff. I'll probably do the next week's podcast today. But so, Carla? Do you have any final thoughts about Dark Alliance?
I think it's the best when you play with a group of people like us.
Right.
You have a lot of fun. You just have a lot of fun. You're not critical of it.
Yeah.
It's just everything is just kind of funny.
I think this would be the worst game to try to coordinate and be critical and try to do min-max because
to be really serious
because of the
everything.
input lag and some of the bugs. You just be like, hey man, we're just here to literally crack skulls and let's just go do that. I don't, we're not mad at Carla or me when somebody fell in a pit. It's like, because I died at one of those base traps near a ladder. No life, and it let me complete the animation to climb up the ladder, and then when I got to the top of the ladder, I fell over dead and was like, what just happened?
That's so funny.
What
I don't even
in the
know.
world?
I think Marty said he was gonna, like, I'll meet you over there, and he goes, whoop.
And just died, like jumped and
I've done
died.
that before.
Yeah, and so it's stuff like that where everybody's just laughing. Marty laughed harder than I've ever heard him laugh in a long time. Like it was a laugh where no sound came out of your mouth, just the back gurgling of your mouth because you were laughing so hard. And some of the like, don't do that, Joe. Don't run over there. Oh, there he goes again.
That's the best part of that whole game for me.
And the tally screen giving each other a hard time. I mean, we did that with the Division and everything, but since the Division just did kills and like damage, but this tallies how much gold you get. You killed, you did the most amount of damage, and especially the gear and the crystal shards, which we didn't even get into. Which the one thing I'll say about the crystal shards, again, they have common, uncommon, epic, whatever. They already are using the D&D license. I don't know why they didn't use the minerals that are in D&D, like copper, silver, gold, electrum, platinum, like whatever they use, like they could have just used that, so it's not like you got to learn another currency. And I think maybe it's because I play a lot of online games. I hate when they're like, we have 7 types of currency. You're like, what? Why? And I've just been ignoring the crystal things. But Martin, what final thoughts do you have about the initial impressions of Dark Alliance? I'll say.
My initial impressions was a little disappointing about it. Since it's D&D, everybody that plays any sort of RPG, you're gonna play it and go, wow, and maybe even just not want to play it anymore. But people like us, we're gonna give it a genuine shot, And then on top of that, like we just discussed, we're not gonna. If we don't like it, we're going to try another character. But I agree with Carla. I mean, it's one of those things that we find ways to make it fun. Even if it was a complete bag, which I do not believe that this game is a complete bag. I think that it is fun, and I hope that they do fix bugs. But when we play together with people like you guys, and we just find things that are funny. Like we die more out of combat than we do in combat. Making fun of someone like, oh, you didn't make that lava jump, and then all of a sudden I don't make the lava jump.
Yeah, there was
where's that lava jump now?
Oh, look at those spikes just jumped out in front of me.
Oh yeah, or last night when there was like a lever that I pulled to drop spikes, so I go get a chest, and as I was running back across, Carl was like, "What is this lever doing?" Hit the lever, and all the spikes came up, and luckily I was able to jump out of the way. But I was like, "Why did you do that?" But there's such a lag that I was like, "This could kill me," and I gotta wait, 2 or 3 seconds and find out. Did it kill me? Okay, I'm still alive. Okay, good. Well,
I thought it was funny. One of the levels that we played yesterday, along the same lines, is like, no, there's something over here that we have to figure out. And little did we know that it was actually the boss battle.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're like, okay, well, we got to go and get Carla. So Carla came all the way back almost. And then we started running toward Carla, and then we just started bypassing all the enemies that spawned because we did the camp. And when you do the camp, it respawns all the enemies. And then Carla and I are just like running past enemies. And then we ended up coming back to the same spot. And I was like, oh, maybe we should have just followed
this was the wrong
Carla.
way to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Carla surprised me too, because like you and I would be like, oh, we found this cool hidden chest. Wow, it's already open. And Carla's like, I already got that, guys. Like,
right.
And then look,
she's like, yeah, I know.
My treasure chest radar goes off.
Yeah. That's why she was getting all those legendary shards, because she's like, yeah, I picked that up. I do think it sucks though, because it's like, oh, yeah, I opened that chest and there's a helm. And you're like, okay, now you got to show me where that is, So there's no like auto pickup or anything, but
yeah.
So I will say also, like the after action report, I think that is a lot of fun. I think it's something because just like us, it's like a bragging right type thing. He's like, wow, you did like 10,000 more damage, and you're like, yeah, but you got like 1,000 more gold. How's that even possible? And then it's like, well, randomly generate. Hey, you got 3 legendaries. How's that even possible?
Yeah, Joe.
And it's like this massive bragging right of enemies killed, damage dealt, loot, money.
Oh yeah, you do like it has like team executions. Yeah, it tallies up your gold, and then you got more XP in one level and leveled up, and we're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like I killed more people.
Following level, if you notice, in the following level, we are all now right on par for level exactly.
Yeah, the difficulty for that, because it was like we were like 10 points ahead. It was like rated for 1,500 points, which I don't understand how they do all that. But then it was like, oh yeah, you need to be. We were like 1510, and it was like 1,500, and then the next one was like 17 something. I was like, no, we're not doing that. We're gonna get our butts kicked or whatever.
So I think with that is that like if you do a certain level, and if you notice as you go down the level progression per the levels that you play, in like level 1, you'll get a decent amount of ore, a decent amount of money, a decent amount of XP, and you will get at least 2 items of whatever. You go down to the next one, everything's a little bit better, but the ore and the money you get is significant, and the XP is significantly more. And then you go down to the 3rd level of difficulty, XP drops completely off, money drops almost completely off. The gear is better that you get. The XP is slightly better, and you're like, why would I do level 3 if there's really nothing to yield anything? I would just skip that.
I do like that they tied gold to moves, because it's like, well, what am I going to spend gold on? I'm in a base camp and everything's, but it's...
That's another thing. With a guy, you can't buy anything.
You buy skins from them, that's it. You just buy skins to make your stuff look different. And it's like, it's 50 gold, and I've just been selling stuff so I can buy moves to them, so... And you can upgrade your consumables through them, which is nice because you can hold more consumables. And I do like the consumable system, the idea that you have a potion ready to go. You can drink another potion to regen your stamina. It doesn't regen your max stamina, but there's another one for your heroic meter, for your ultimate. That stuff's kind of cool. They also have, you bought fire bombs, I think, or maybe Carla did.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, those are awesome.
And I upgraded them. So, but do either of you, like, I haven't gotten a chest piece since we did
no.
level. Have any of you gotten
I got like a scarf.
I got like, my thing is, I don't...
like a whatever pelt or something, and then like an eyepiece.
Cloak
it makes
or whatever.
me look like I'm coming out of the steampunk.
Yeah, she gets like steampunk goggles.
The eye patch.
The eye patch.
Yeah, because I remember that last night in the middle of the mission, you go, where'd you get that eye patch? What happened?
It was funny because at one point I'm swinging at Carla and I'm not doing any damage, and I'm like,
I did that to you.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. Well, I didn't see you down there.
Here's how I tell if it's an enemy or one of you guys. Because Martin, you're also a dwarf, and we were fighting the Draugr, the Dark Dwarves. You were moving more than any of the enemies, and I was like, oh, that's Martin, because he's moving around. They're just standing there, so I know that's Martin. So, but so. Well, this has been fun, guys. I just want to remind everybody that this podcast will hit my website, www.gamingwithgrief.com. Monday morning at 7 a.m. Go there. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know how I can improve. You can also subscribe to the podcast on Apple iTunes or go to the Google Play Store if you have an Android device. Give me the likes and subscribes and stuff like that. Or you can write to me at gwgpodfellows@gmail.com. Write me an email. Let me know what you think of the show. Or I'm on Twitter at JustLittleJoe. And I think that will do it for this week, and I will talk to you guys next week. And do you guys want to say anything before we go, or is that it? Are we done? Are we going to play? We're going to play again, right?
We're going to play again for sure.
We're going to play again. I think we all have come up with that. We're going to switch characters.
Yeah. Like maybe you'll try Wolfgar. Maybe I'll try. Bruner, and maybe Carl will try Dritz.
Mm-hmm.
And so cool.
Like that.
All right, well, we'll talk to everybody next week, and I'll definitely talk to you guys sooner than that. So see you guys later. Bye.